Imagine if you could easily find solutions to make your region or city smarter, greener, better connected, more social, and closer to citizens. The Interreg Europe Policy Learning Platform can help you access knowledge about the latest policy trends, discover expert-validated good practices from all over Europe, find solutions in our peer review, get tailored support from our expert team. We can connect you with the right people and organizations. Together, we will find ways to solve your region's or city's challenges. Start your policy learning journey today.
Welcome everybody to this Interreg Europe webinar on the social integration of migrants, brought to you then by the Policy Learning Platform of the Interreg Europe. My name is Mart Veliste. I will be your moderator today, and together with me I have my colleague Erik and Valentin to help us out. I appreciate the big interest in this topic. I know that spring is a busy time for many. But of course, the topic is evergreen or continues to be relevant for people who work in the field. So we had over 100 registrations, and I see that people are joining the session. So what happens here today in this webinar is that we have invited 3 speakers from our Interreg Europe community to bring in different perspectives and examples on the topic. So first we will have a keynote by Adnan, coming from the Save the Children, and he will talk about how change can be brought by empowering the migrant community, how to involve the migrant community, and also policy making, and all of these things. Then we have 2 practices coming from other projects. So John is coming to talk us about good practice from the SIRM project, so representing also the Irish experience. And last but not least, we have Tomasz, who will talk about a program they ran in Szczecin, Poland. And it's a good practice from the MILEstone project. And yeah, I forgot to mention then Adnan is also a stakeholder in the SALAM project. So as you can see, already three projects working on the topic are represented here today to share their experience. And by the end of the webinar, we also have a little bit of a panel discussion with the participants. We try to keep it interactive. Here also the audience, you have a chance to play a role. So after each of the presentations, please do write the questions to the chat. We will take them during these Q&A moments to ask our speakers. So these can be both the clarifying questions about what you hear, but also philosophical questions. So anything goes, and we'll do our best together with the experts to answer these questions. But before we launch and go really to the topic matter, just a few words about the platform. So we are the second pillar of Interreg Europe, and in a way we connect people, we produce knowledge, and then we also provide expert services. There is this link to our website where you can find all these materials and resources. One of our biggest maybe standout activities or service is this peer review and matchmaking services that is catering the needs of European policymakers. So whenever there is a policymaking challenge where you feel that you have somehow hit the wall, don't know how to go forward, would like some external perspective, then our peer review and matchmaking services are there for you to take the next step with the assistance of international experts. And these are open on a rolling basis. They're free for charge for European public authorities. So please do explore it further if this is somehow interesting for you. Just to say that we have already done over 100 peer reviews. I believe this week we actually had or are in the process of having 103rd of the peer review. So it's been a nice journey so far. And just to give you one example of how this can look like is, and on the topic that we're discussing today as well, then last November, together with Erik, or with the leadership of Erik, we had a peer review in Kristiansand in Norway, especially on how could the labor market of Ukrainian migrants be enhanced in their context, as they had done already a lot of things but maybe on their own with their best knowledge that they had, and they were now looking for outsider perspective. And on our website, you can read the full report of what was suggested and what was the essence of the topic. But on the slide here, also, of course, you can already see a few recommendations that were shared, and one of them is very much also about our topic today. So combining informal learning, vocational training, mental health support, all of these things are crucial for social integration. And yeah, we had 6 international peers providing their input during that peer review. It was a 1.5-day exercise for the benefit of Kristiansand municipality. Just to say that Interreg Europe has an Interreg Europe policy learning platform has a team of roughly 20 people who organize these webinars, workshops, write the policy briefs, and do these expert services. And we work in different thematic tracks of the cohesion policy. So we're not only focusing on migration. If you're new to the program, we also tackle sustainability, innovation, SME competitiveness, and all different other subtopics where we also organize events like this one today. Now, bringing the topic or my presentation to our today's context, then in Interreg Europe, we currently have several projects that work on migration topics. Some of these were already introduced and will be represented by the speakers, but there are some other ones also working on these things, and they all, of course, look at it from different angles. So, for example, from the third call, we have a new project called EU Power, and they are actually looking into the, let's say, intra-EU labor movements and the sort of migrants who are moving for labor inside the European Union. So it's a very interesting specific subtopic in this. And some projects look more at, let's say, the refugees, while others maybe work also more with digital nomads. So it's different things that are being discussed. Today, we are primarily focusing on let's say, the refugee demographic. So people who have had to flee and are now looking to make a new life for themselves in our countries. But we have several other topics under the Social Europe strand that also work on, let's say, social cohesion and a more maybe uniform society or stronger society. And I do see some overlap there, some ways wanting to maybe integrate neat youth to the labor market and integrating maybe migrants to the labor market. Some things can be a bit common on now how you run these programs and with other social groups as well. I think the entire larger corpus or group of people who are interested in what we're discussing today goes beyond these few projects. And of course, the main goal of all Interreg Europe projects is to exchange on best practices, and this is what we're also doing today. And we already tackled this topic specifically from the labor market angle last October. So if you were not there in October, then we have a recording ready on our website where we also explored, let's say, maybe a bit more economical side of the integration process. And on my last slide here, just to sort of set the scene maybe to the topic a bit, is that, well, no big changes have happened maybe since October, in the sense that migration is still something that impacts our countries and our regions. We are still very much in the context of the Ukraine war that has had one of the biggest migration flows since the Second World War for Europe. But there are, since the past few months, some new sort of influencing events or people, and there is new potential pressures happening on the migration front. And but interestingly, according to this International Center for Migration Policy Development for 2025, it's that we haven't seen a bigger increase in migrants in Europe this year yet. Some saw it could even be like called a stabilization. But they are, of course, are very cautious in their report about that there are different reasons why this might be the case, and different things are in play there. But I think for us today, yes, integration. I mean, migration is heavily connected to integration. But even if integration, let's say, even if migration flows change or they become smaller, the people who are already here still, want to integrate, or we as societies require them to integrate to our societies. And therefore, even if the numbers change, I think for us in this topic, the issues concerning local communities, the issues concerning individuals in these communities are still very much active, and it's almost an evergreen topic in a way as well, as migration has been part of human history from early on. But I think what's important for us in Interreg Europe and the policy learning platform is that integration usually happens, very locally or hyper locally. So it happens on the city level, on the municipal level, and this is where the city and municipal governments also have a crucial role to play. So maybe they're not always the biggest players in migration policy, but they certainly play a big role in the integration policies. And so today we'll explore this topic more a bit from the social aspect. So I mentioned earlier we had a labor market topic in October. Of course, they're hard to disentangle. They're quite always close tied together. But today we will also explore specifically in the presentations from John and Adnan also about other aspects of this sort of social integration, whether it's about child support services or education or other such subtopics. And as already mentioned, as a segue now to our keynote speaker, we also talk about co-creation methods that can be used when designing integration policies. And with this, I would stop sharing my screen, and Adnan, I would kindly ask you to then take over to walk us through from your experience and the messages you would like to share with us. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mart, for this introduction. And I think I will start from your statement on migration, that it's part of the course of the history. And I think this is a wonderful start for my presentation, that migration was and will be part of the natural movement of people, and fighting it or trying to deny its existing. It's like you're burying your head in the sand, So I think from there, if we look at it from that view, we have to understand that when we design policies, and we have to take that in consideration. Save the Children, as you know, have long history working with children, but also we have strong collaborations with authorities, with municipalities, regional authorities, and also national authorities. We try to provide our expertise as a bridge to the targeted group, to children and parents. And in the last 10 years, I think we gained a lot of experience working with migration, working with integration and refugees. And we emphasize on so many elements. I will not go to what we mean by integration. Okay, it is what it is. But for us, we understand it as the equal right to participate in whatever action you call it integration, So in here, we start to work together with the Mart municipality in Sweden to build their integration strategy policy for the whole municipality, how to deal with the integration of refugees and newcomers. And in there, I would like also to emphasize a few things, on collaboration. Why as an NGO we are collaborating with the Mart. I would say that I come from a migrant background as myself. I was a refugee myself. I came from Syria in the end of 2014 as a refugee. I lived in refugee camps for 1.5 years. I got my status. I move on in my life in from a box to box in my status. And in that also we gain a lot of livelihood experience as well. We found out that collaboration is very important on so many levels. That because social inclusion and integration are not just a municipal or a national responsibility. They require all of us, I think. And when I say all of us, I mean all of us. I mean all stakeholders, relevant stakeholders. And I would add to the list that most of the time the refugees themselves, the newcomers themselves, as a main stakeholders and experts on their own problems and on solutions as well. You know, authorities sure provide the structure, the funding, the long-term policies, but you know, as you know, us in civil society, I think on the other hand, we offer the grassroots insights, flexibility, and trust-based relation with the marginalized communities. Also, when the actors collaborate, we share goals, we coordinate efforts, and also respect each other in that role and results, everything improve, you know. Services become more accessible, culturally relevant, and also rights-based. You know, this is very important. Strong collaboration also creates opportunities for innovation and builds a kind of community bonds that are essential for real inclusion. It's not just more efficient, it's more humane. And I'd focus on more efficient because co-creation is about, you know, bringing the best minds from everyone to improve services, to improve whatever you are creating, you know. And it's really efficient, and I think efficient in money-wise as well. And this is attractive to for a lot of authorities because you're using the power of others in the society to help you to achieve common goals. Also, that said, you know, from that perspective, we have to understand also working on integration policy, integration strategy between Save the Children and Mart didn't come as just sudden. It came also through a long process of trust, a long process of collaborating in projects, in activities, on a municipal level, on a regional level. We have shared, for example, Kids in the Center project, AMF, that we work closely with the municipality in that project, and that creates trust for both parts to work together on the integration strategy. And our starting point, actually, from our experience, in that we had to look at the European perspective on integration and inclusion. From that, we take a start always with the action plan on integration and inclusion, you know, that provided as a communication from the European Commission to all member states. And as you know, in the latest events with the Migration Pact, it become not only a communication, it become a directive. So this is very important for us to look and to be a guiding principle for any integration policy. The actual now action plan on integration and inclusion have key principles and values. First, inclusion for all, you know, partnership with member states, local, regional authorities, civil society, and social and economical partners, employers, and others. Target support to all stages of integration, mainstream gender and anti-discrimination, harassing new technologies and digital tools, and also making best of EU funding. And I think we are all interested in that. And that this action, I won't go through it a lot, but I suggest to you all to have a like really deep look at it. The action main sectoral areas are education, employment, housing, and health. So it doesn't focus only on employment, and this is very important. It is focused on that. It's a whole holistic. It uses a holistic approach to all these elements. And I would mention a few things, you know, that because this action plan actually main statement, if you look at it, that integration and inclusion of people with migrant background is a two-way process. It's a tango that we have to dance it together. You can't do it by your side only. You have to do it with others, including the migrants themselves. We need a whole society approach to include the migrants and local communities, you know, that includes migrants and local communities, employers, civil society, and all levels of governance. Action plan gives priority attention to have more migrants participate in the consultative and decision-making processes, and this is very important. And also to increase the capacity of authorities to involving migrants and in decision-making processes. We have to ensure that migrants and EU citizens with a migrant background can fully participate and contribute. This is a key to the future of well-being, prosperity, and cohesion of European societies. So these are the main messages from this action plan, and I think we take it as a guiding principle when we start to work on our action plan or our integration strategy in Mark. And in there, actually, we start the teams from Save the Children and from the municipality, from the integration unit and the labor market unit to work together. And we had some guiding principles. We had some documents to look at. So we start to do a full analyze. First, we had to learn more about the action plan on integration. We look at other good practices. We look at the UNESCO pilot, for example, on intercultural reception that respects the human dignity with its key principles. But also we had some important documents within the municipality that we have to look at it, use it, and also use the support from the politicians and the staff in the municipality. So we had to reflect on important documents like the sustainability report, sustainability plan 2025 for the municipality. Also, we had the child impact analysis as well that we looked at, and we analyzed the document. Also, the integration plan that helps in the development of the integration. I would say, that the sustainability plan served as a guiding principle for the integration strategy, ensuring that inclusion of refugees and migrants align with the long-term sustainability goals of the municipality. The impact on the child impact analysis and on refugee and reception, it highlights the importance of children's rights in the reception process, with also considerations to include ensuring all children well-being and programs that foster community involvement to help migrant children to integrate into the society. And in the end, we start to look at missing elements. So in that process, I would tell everyone here, the audience, that we thought that this is very interesting. We have a lot of support from internally and externally in the municipality for that. So why we don't create guidelines, a step-by-step guidance on how to do that, along the process. So we start to look at missing elements, for example, and areas that could be expanded or added to address the gaps, to see what is missing exactly, to ensure comprehensive approach to future strengthen the integration strategy. And we found out that we have gaps, big gaps, for example, in youth engagement and empowerment, gender-sensitive programs, mental health and trauma support, we start to look at how we can strengthen partnership and with local businesses, how we can do better cultural exchange and community building. The housing support, we know that there is a big problem, and we need to work with it with the legal aid as well. How we can create feedback mechanism, But when we look at these challenges and gap, we found out that really we can't do it ourselves. We need the whole society approach. We need all stakeholders, We need internal stakeholders from within the municipality authorities, all the authorities, and we need external stakeholders from the society, the NGOs, the other NGOs, the companies, the refugees themselves, to work with these gaps. Then we start to do actions, to ensure the empowerment and active participations of refugee, hosting community, municipality staff, NGOs, CSOs, and companies. Because, if you are inviting people to a co-creative, process, it's not an easy thing. It's a really hard work, and you need to really build the trust. You need to invite, and you need to make sure that those participants, own the process and the results are relevant. So we start to do these actions, and I will focus on the last 2 points, and where we started also the co-creating the integration strategy with internal and external stakeholders. I would say that, after we develop and after we look at the data and developing the plan, and understanding the data, we realize that, empowerment and active participation of all actors is a cross-cutting point through all integration strategy, So to ensure that, we had to co-create the programs and policies to build inclusive governance structure. We have to do capacity building and training for all stakeholders, mainstreaming participation across all areas, We have to do evaluation and monitoring of this. We need more transparency and communication. We have to promote social cohesion and joint activities, and we need to look at long-term sustainability. That said, we started the co-creative process in market integration strategy with the internal stakeholder and external stakeholders. With because I think we took the following steps to ensure the participation of all those stakeholders internally and externally. So we started to do first a stakeholder mapping. We start to do an engagement plan, how we can engage them. And then we move to the consultation part and the co-creation part, where we launched a series of interviews, focus groups, and engagement processes for internal stakeholders, collaborators from municipality, department, staff, and policymakers, and also external stakeholders, as we mentioned before, refugees, NGOs, people from hosting community, and also companies as well. We did in total 35 interviews, engagements, and focus groups. Then we invited everyone to a co-creative session where we provide the results. And I will shortly tell you about the key findings that we found. Out of that, we had established a co-creative community, and we are in a phase of joint designing the participatory of co-creation. I would share with you in the last 2 minutes, I think, I will share with you, because we had the first draft out of this committee, the first draft of this integration strategy in action. And I will mention that, that is a co-creative, process that everyone. This is the needs and the asking and the hopes and dreams from everyone in the municipality. So the vision is the integration strategy for Mart's built on the clear and inclusive vision that we are, as humans living in Mart, close to nature, to the world, to each other, and to the future. At the heart of this vision is the belief that everyone, regardless of origin, should feel sense of belonging, safety, and opportunity. The strategy supports Mart's long-term goals of becoming both the best place for children to grow up, also to thrive as a thriving hub, also the hope to be a thriving hub for businesses. It's important to note that the strategy includes all newcomers. I'm not talking about refugees. I'm not talking about asylum seekers. I'm talking about any person exist in the municipality. Anyone who moved for study or came here, married someone and moved here, or moved from another city. So we're talking about all newcomers to feel welcome and to feel part of the society, whether they are arrived as asylum seekers, labor migrants, or for family reasons. Integration is not limited to one group. It's long-term, community-wide process. Also, we put the child in the center. I think I would talk more later on about it, but I would say that it was emphasized by everyone, the child center, like the importance of the approach towards children. We want to become the best children municipality by focusing on psychosocial support, psychosocial safety, educational success, meaningful leisure opportunities for participation, and it's very important and I think later on we will talk more about it. I would say the key focus areas of the actions. The strategy is built around 4 key focus areas: promoting participation and community building. We support language cafe, cultural events, and personal contacts to build social bridges. School, libraries, and youth centers are used as inclusive spaces. Empowerment through early access to Swedish education and work. The strategy emphasized the early language learning, tailored guidance, and work-based practices. Equal access to prospective treatment, and this includes, for example, multilingual information, staff training, intercultural competence. This is a very important part, and mechanisms to report discrimination. We needed stronger collaboration between the municipality, civil society, and private sector. This includes shared platforms for dialogues and measurable goals for monitoring process. Also, we needed to provide right tools for refugee empowerment, for those migrants, for refugees, for newcomers to have their own collective voice, to come up, to step up, to tell their ideas, and to be able to, for example, self-organize or to be part of the decision-making process. To support that policymakers have that extensive dialogue with the migrants or with the target group in that sense, you know. And as a conclusion, I would just say that this inclusive integration strategy is a long-term commitment to build society where everyone, regardless of the background, has the opportunity to belong, participate, and thrives. By focusing on children and youth, equal access, community building, and strong partnership, we are not only supporting individuals, we are also investing in the future of the entire municipality. Integration is not a task for one actor alone. It's required shared responsibility, courage, and collaboration across sectors. With this strategy, we are taking a clear and concrete step towards more inclusive, sustainable, and united Mark. A place for all. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And really inspirational, and also the key points came through, I think, really nicely. So now we can dive a bit deeper with a few questions about what you were talking about. I encourage people to post their questions, and while Erik is screening them, maybe I take the first one myself to give others a bit of time. So what would you say has been most challenging in this process so far to make a co-created integration strategy? What is the potential bottleneck? So I'm just thinking that if another region in Europe wants to embark on something similar, what has been the learning for you, and what is maybe the hardest thing to overcome?
Yes, thank you so much. I mean, in all co-creation processes, creative processes, letting go of power. Letting go of your professional role as an expert and that you know it all and you have solutions for the problems, and making sure to share this power with the stakeholders, believe in their ability and expertise to create new services. You may not see the outcome, but at least you can help to steer it, and this is very important. This is challenging, I think, and I think it requires a lot of understanding. As I say, the work was wonderful with the colleagues from the municipality of Mart, because there have been long-standing collaboration. There is a belief from the staff. I couldn't tell actually when I worked with the municipality staff if they working for the municipality or NGO, if I don't know them for sure, because this long-standing collaboration, their belief in inclusion and in partnership led to that, to make that easy, that process easy. But we have been in other places where it has been hard, but in the end, not possible, not impossible. So I think letting go of power, working with the co-creative process, believing that those, for example, migrants or refugees, they are experts on their own problems, and treat them as an experts. This is the most, I think, difficult part.
Thank you. Then Erik, I would give the word to you.
Yes, well, we have a lot of enthusiastic comments in the chat. Not so many questions yet. I would have one question for you on. You described a very inspirational way this local process with many actors. What we saw in this peer review in Norway was some frustration with national policies. Sometimes you have national policies that set very strict principles. So everyone should learn the language in 6 months and has to get out it feels the local actors feel, well, on the ground we are struggling with that, and in a way it's an obstacle to effective dialogue because we are working in a framework that simply does not work for everyone. Have you experienced that? How do you this tension between what you can do locally and what the national or the legal frameworks level?
I think a lot of municipalities, regions, they face the same. I think, especially in the last few years, 2 or 3 years, that national policies not accommodating the local needs, on the ground. And I think I've seen in a lot of regions and a lot of municipalities will to not only like, sure, you have to stick to the national plans and policies, but in the same time, like now a good example from region Västra Götaland right now, and from the municipality of Mart, the municipality and the region, they start to seek European funds to accommodate that gap. They try to build collaboration, partnership with other regions, to do exchanges and to make sure that this gap is met. And I think this is very wise, very clever. And I think I believe in the power of exchange, and these are very good examples from region of Västra Götaland. Seeking partnership in a regional collaboration. SALAM project is one of the pride examples of this collaboration, trying to what they call bridge the gap. That national policies create.
Okay, thank you. I saw Lucia was posting a question quite close to what I was saying about administrative structures that reproduce discriminatory narratives, maybe racist narratives that kind of difficult to deal with. So yeah, thank you for this inspirational answer. I don't know if you have any other. There are no direct questions right now.
Maybe I'll ask the last one, because we really I forced you to Adnan also to jump maybe quicker in this place, and just maybe it's good to I took note of this co-creation committee that you're planning to establish this entity. What's it about, or what's its role in the?
I mean, after we did the co-creation process, after we did the stakeholder meeting, and we presented the results of the interviews, the focus groups, and then some stakeholders, including refugees, were interested to become part of this committee. That means we will look at the strategy. We will write it together. And they could provide us with more deep feedback on the relevance of the point or the focus areas, or even the text in the strategy. So this committee already exists, and now is supporting us in writing the strategy, the final draft of the strategy, and it should be ready in any time. And I think also I just want to mention to everyone here that very soon also we will have guidelines on how to do that process. We are also trying to work together, like with the municipality, to create a guideline. So this is easily, hopefully easily duplicated to anyone who would like to use the same process.
That's super nice to hear, because we could see a lot of excitement in the chat. So looking forward to that. I think, Adnan, we will come back to you shortly with some more perspectives, but I would give the word also now to John from the Munster Technological University to bring us in another perspective from Ireland. This Nasc and the program they have been running. Maybe I mispronounced it. Sorry, John.
No, you're all good. I'm just bad at doing two things at once, so I'll just try to do my sharing properly here first, and then I will properly introduce myself. So good afternoon, everyone, and thanks very much to the Interreg Policy Learning Platform for bringing us all together here today. My name is John Hobbs. I'm a senior lecturer in economics in the Munster Technological University, and I'm part of the SIRM project, which is about the socio-economic integration of refugees and migrants. So this webinar is right up our street and right what we're trying to do and trying to support and achieve, or one element of that, I guess, in the sort of social integration element. So we're a project of 9 different partners from regions all across Europe trying to tackle this challenge. And this good practice, New Beginnings, is from a group, Nasc, in Ireland, or an NGO, and just wanted to take a few minutes to share this with you and promote our project a little bit more. So in terms of what Nasc means is link. Okay, and I think that's it's a nice word. I suppose it's the Gaelic word for link, and it's a nice word that sort of connects, I suppose, refugees and migrants with Irish society and with the various different supports that are delivered here across Ireland for this cohort of people that are an important and growing part of our community here. So Nasc's goals and priorities, they're really there, I suppose, as a social work or an advisory or advocacy service for refugees and fighting for their rights in terms of empowering them with their entitlements and what their their role and what they can apply for, and cutting out, I suppose, the bureaucracy and the difficulties that they see when they arrive here in Ireland. So they do a lot, I suppose, individually on a one-on-one advocacy basis, and we'll go into more of that in a few moments. But they're also, I suppose, raising the challenges with government and raising these issues for the public in terms of opening that discussion and showcasing the challenges that refugees and migrants face when they're moving into a new region and a new country. So they do a lot of evidence-based research and policy, and they work, I suppose, with government as well, and feed into different co-creation committees and policies that government would be producing. So in terms of the New Beginnings Children and Families project, I suppose when refugees and migrants come to Ireland or to any particular region, you know, that family reunification is a huge element of that, and being successfully integrated into a community and a society is huge and very, very difficult, with lots of different challenges, you know, across housing, education, different regions of different cost of living, you know, and that's all the I suppose the elements that we see when people move to different countries, but connecting them into the community, ensuring that that they can be part of society is another huge element. But all of that, we kind of forget, I suppose, that they're coming to our region or to different regions across Europe because they're trying to get away from something, and they're navigating in some instances huge trauma, different culture shocks, unfamiliar systems in which they have to deal with. So all of that, I suppose, is part of what Nasc are trying to do, be that sort of overarching support that can help from all of those different sides, both the economic, the housing, the social, and the welfare of the people who are actually traveling here as well. So in terms of how this project works, Nasc have a dedicated social working team that works with those that are coming into Ireland, you know, and their families and their children. They support that sort of family reunification. They look at, I suppose, the tangible details and elements that this cohort of people need, you know, so in terms of how do you get a PPS number, how do you enroll in schools, how do you register for medical care with a GP first, and how do you access those systems within hospitals, and I suppose they're helping to put supports in place that can prevent poverty, that can prevent homelessness, that can ensure that that these people who are moving here have an opportunity to connect with society and be part of Irish society. So the other stakeholders involved then, in this particular good practice and in supporting that through many different mechanisms would be the Community Foundation Ireland, the St. Vincent de Paul, and other charities like Community Connect, etc. So in terms of the overall cost of the Children and Families project per annum, you're looking at just over 80,000, and the direct staff costs for the social workers and the carers within Nasc, approximately sort of 3/4 of that, in and around sort of 60,000. And then you have other partners coming in with the provision of particular services, so costs for language supports, for education and integration supports, needs or provision costs, and administration then. And some of those figures would be reduced because it's other charities and other NGOs that are providing some of those services. Others are particular organizations that are coming in to do that training for them as well. So if we look at the evidence from 2023 in terms of how many people were supported and who was supported and how through this particular program, so 64 children from 19 families in 12 different countries, prevented and alleviated poverty for 19 families, kept 13 of them away from homelessness, ensured access to education for 9 families and 24 children and young people. So putting them into education, educational placements, different programs for advanced training for those that would be beyond schooling age, but more in the sort of university cohort to help them gain access to the workplace, and facilitated applications for social assistance, mental health supports, a home setup material, and a lot of English language training as well. So even though we're based in Ireland and have our own Gaelic language, where Nasc comes from. It's not so much spoken. Everything here is predominantly in English as well. So this program has been ongoing since 2021, and I suppose why we shared it as part of the SIRM project is because we feel it can be of benefit and advantageous for other regions. I mean, Nasc act as that conduit between the different government services that we have here, and they help support the blurring of the lines, I suppose, between those government agencies where we have housing on one side, social welfare on another, education in a different department. So, you know, that there's quite often those services don't talk to each other, and it's quite difficult to navigate them. So organizations like Nasc really, I suppose, support these cohort of people that are coming into the country and help them through each of those stages. They help them also integrate into communities, empower them to take back, I suppose, the direction for their own life and help them as much as they possibly can. The biggest challenges, I suppose, in delivering this particular service for any NGO, you know, is all about funding and supports. And Nasc's funding predominantly, I suppose, comes from philanthropic grants, private donations, and then some access to European funding for the provision of these particular services. And I guess the funding loop is one of the biggest constraints, because you're not sure what you can provide if you don't have the staff and the resources to provide that on an annual basis. So that those are the things, I suppose, that make it difficult for them to work year on year. Eilish Neely is the contact person directly in Nasc who's working there, and I can introduce anyone to Eilish. That's another lovely Gaelic name, which I'm sure people would find difficult to pronounce. But she's lovely and happy to help and transfer information to other regions if people are looking for a little bit more. And then in terms of the other services and projects that Nasc provide, I touched on some of these previously. So they have an advocacy service, a Gateway Women's project in terms of supporting women who are entering the country as well, to connect them and help them with different social supports and access to working supports, the Ukraine response team, and then also Connect, a migrant youth project, all aspects of integration. And they're working a lot now with major organizations across Ireland and a lot of different public bodies and universities to do more in terms of their community sponsorship program. So those are the slides that I have to share with you today. So I'm happy to take any questions on the good practice or answer anything else on Nasc or the SIRM project that people are interested in. So I'll just stop sharing there, I guess, and
thank you so much.
More. Yeah,
John. And I think what already I'm also picking up from you and Adnan is that the sort of the bridging role or the linking role of the nonprofit, right, and the sort of as a crucial stakeholder for the public authorities when running integration policies. And just as a personal also reflection, having done some research on this in Estonia, I think something that it can be easily overlooked is the trust towards authorities. You know, especially in Estonia, there's a pretty high trust towards the public sector, the government, including the police forces. And for us, it's it's easy to say, hey, go to the police and border guard department, ask for your documents. But this, depending on where the people come from, their public sector or their, let's say, security structures, the dynamic is completely different. And I think then the one that helps to explain this and also take away some of the pressure is often the nonprofit sector in these cases. So that's just something I also, my mind started wondering and making these connections. But then to come maybe to a first question, and then of course encouraging everybody to again put forward their questions. I took note from your slides that Nasc also started out with a bit of research on how this project should look like, or how should this approach be created. Research into the refugee needs. And I'm just, John, also coming from an academic background yourself, would you say that this is in a way like maybe a first step or a key thing to keep in mind when other regions would like to replicate such a program, that to understand the needs?
I think one of the key things, I guess, overall with the Interreg Europe program, and when we focus on specifically, the social element, I think in sharing of good practices, you always have to take account of the culture in the different regions, because there are certain things that that happen in different regions that don't happen here, and vice versa. And there's particular metrics, or there can be cultural things that don't allow transfer easily. And I guess why this practice is so successful here is because we don't have that coordination, and we don't have that co-creation at the government level. We have many different departments that are working independently of each other, and they don't connect enough to ensure that there's balance between each of those services, or that there's a nice journey where you stop here and then you go to the next room and you go to the next room and then you're out and you're integrated into society. If it was that easy, there wouldn't be a need for organizations like the NGOs in Ireland, and there's lots of others. Nasc are only one of those organizations that's doing fabulous work for refugees and migrants here. You think of organizations like the Irish Refugee Council, who've also inputted good practices as part of our project as well. But I think coming back to that sort of research element, I think when you're knocking on the door of government or local authorities and looking for support and highlighting issues and challenges for refugees and migrants, having that research is critical, knowing what their needs are, knowing where the difficulties within the system are, and then trying to bridge that gap or be the link in that area is absolutely key. I think it gives you that validation and accreditation of what you're asking for, and it's easier for the local authorities or the national government then to come on board and to fund some of these initiatives, which they have done from time to time when there's critical needs there or log jams in the pipeline.
Yeah, thank you for this perspective. Then Erik, I would give also the word to you.
Yes, so I will then repeat the question from Leonor Montero in the chat, who thanks you for the presentation, and she would like to know more about effective strategies to integrate migrants who are highly qualified professionals in their countries of origin, but whose qualifications are not formally recognized in the host country. Do you have any specific experience from that?
There is another element here within the university when it actually came to light with the Ukrainian crisis, and when there was a lot of Ukrainians that were traveling here to Ireland and looking to integrate into society quite quickly. So that there is a European system for the recognition of prior learning and the recognition of documentation and degrees and whatnot. So one of my other colleagues here in the Access Department, I think every university in Ireland had 2 or 3 staff members who were sent on this particular training. It was coordinated at a European level, but it gives all of the guidelines for how those documents can be tracked and the different levels and different modules that staff members coming from Ukraine or coming from other war-torn regions would have, because I guess when you're fleeing a country, you're not exactly thinking, I need to take my diploma in this, or I need to take this, this, and this with me. So many people are just forced and have to leave at the drop of a hat. So these systems are becoming more and more in place, and there's trained staff members now across all the different universities and the specific public agencies that would deal with that to help get those people fast-tracked then into critical skills needs as well. So it'd be the Department of Enterprise, Trade and Employment, the Department of Justice here, and the Department of Education that would be working collaboratively on that with the particular European body. I can look some of that information up and see if I can make it available in the chat, if I can find that in the next few minutes as well.
And I think this is also a topic that probably Tomasz can also add during his presentation, because he, representing the labor office in Szczecin, probably has met this issue of skills recognition, I presume. So I don't know if Tomasz, you want to immediately say something on this, or we take that later when you're presenting from your experience. But,
okay, I share my screen. 1 moment.
No, not yet with the presentation. I thought regarding the comment on in the chat about the qualifications recognition. If this is something you have also been dealt with in Szczecin, to how do you recognize the formal qualifications of the Ukrainian migrants?
Sorry, I need a moment for
Yeah.
clearly understand, because my English maybe isn't is so perfect. If you can ask one more time.
Yeah, because in the chat we have Leonore asking about like what are the effective strategies to integrate like highly qualified migrants, but whose, let's say, professional qualification in their country of origin, maybe it's hard to fit into what we expect in the EU for qualifications. And I think maybe you have also met this issue in Poland. So if you have any comment on that.
Okay, it's sometimes because I am a job advisor, and sometimes people from Ukraine come to me and told us I worked, for example, on that employee or other, and I want to work here. And all the time it's a process, and we try to help them to reach that success and reach that employee which they had in Ukraine. But it's not simply all the time, but sometimes it's finally success.
Thank you. And then I would maybe, Adnan, bring you back to this conversation as well, because John presented the case of Nasc, who work a lot with children and integrating the families. And your organization, Save the Children, also works a lot on this. And you mentioned already briefly during your presentation about this child-centered approach. So maybe my question would be like, what is the key thing we ought to keep in mind when we're talking about integration of underage migrants? So, Adnan, please, if you have any comments on that.
Exactly. I mean, as you know, as you mentioned, Save the Children, we use child-centered approach, grounded in the Convention on the Rights of Child, and we always emphasize on the importance of taking the best interest of the child principle, by conducting individual assessments in whatever, in every informed decision, That means also that we have to listen to the children. We have to involve them in decisions, and always considering their best interest. This is very important for underage migrants. I think one of the key factors include the key factors that help us in doing that approach, that we to have safe relation with adults. We have to make sure that we have also those children have stable schooling, language support, and also spaces for participation. And participation not always come as a direct consultation, because for underage children, sometimes you use other creative manners. And in Save the Children, we use sometimes drawing, storytelling, theater, and other manners to get children perspective on things, and ensure their participation and in the decision making in policy, especially related to them. We believe, because integration of children must go beyond services, and this is very important. And we have and it have to include the belonging, safety, and voices of their voices. So this is very important, I think, to make sure that the integration of those underage children always go beyond service to include these elements: belonging, safety, and voice. So this is, some of the elements that we use. but like child participation, child consultation, it's an essential for every step. And I'm talking about also activities and projects and programs that we implement, that we emphasize with our colleagues, that the importance of doing this consultation with children early before we apply, before we start these projects, before even we seek funds for it, for example. So it have to be to make sure that it's relevant and need-based, essentially.
Thanks. And then, John, I guess Nasc is also like working on these dimensions.
Exactly. Very happy to hear that as well.
Yeah, Nasc could be connecting, I suppose, different cohorts as well with each other and different communities, and having cultural events to build bridges for people to integrate themselves more into the community. I think from the project perspective as well, we've talked a lot about sport being a big integration tool as well. We haven't really come across many great examples or good practices of standard ways in which you can do that aren't more ad hoc or that don't just happen from time to time. But I think when people share a pitch, they're on the same team and they're all the same, you know. And I think that's something potentially we could do more with. There was when we visited Szczecin, who are the lead partner in the SIRM project, we visited a center there. I have a couple of slides on that, Mart. Is it okay just to show those to the audience now, if this is the appropriate time? So I'll just find those slides there now, and I can share them with you. So hopefully you can see those now. For some reason, it doesn't seem to be working for me right now. Or can you see those? You can?
It's coming with a slight delay, but
oh, sorry. Here we go. And I just have to maybe they're not working. I seem to have lost a toolbar, but hopefully you can see that. We visited this Center TUTU, which was essentially launched after the Russian-Ukrainian war began, and it was for I guess Ukrainian children who were coming across the border into Poland, and a center where they could I suppose deal with their traumas, but also integrate them into community and build new bonds. So this particular center, and you can see the financing of.
We can't see your slides, John.
Oh, you can't see them? Oh, sorry.
No.
We can share on your behalf, John. If you I think stop from your end, then
Does
we
that
can
work? Is that working now? I just check. No? Okay.
I think now we have it.
Can share them. Perfect.
Yes.
So this was what I was mentioning. This center TUTU in Szczecin in Poland, which is 80 kilometers from the Ukrainian border. You can see how they were financed there, but essentially, I guess what they were doing, if we can move on to the next slide, is that they're providing these services for children to help them deal with their trauma, using things like art therapy, poetry, language classes, etc., to really sort of integrate them into society, but also deal with what they were coming from and look forward to to tomorrow. And I think everything was really focused on the children and their needs and ensuring that they were less distressed, integrating into community more, building friendships and collaborations, learning to trust adults and different people. But the other nice side that I saw with this particular center was that, the parents are heavily traumatized and worried about their children as well. And the center also provided a space for them. So the groups of children would come in either in the morning or the afternoon, because they weren't started sort of formal schooling as of yet. But the parents would come with them, and they would drop them off, and they would go into another room, and they would have an hour for themselves to just decompress and think about things or connect and make friendships with the others that were dropping off their children as well. So it was their time to unload their difficulties, their time to build new friendships, their time to share their problems, their time to to connect with the community as well. And those would have been other Ukrainian people, but also local people there who volunteered in that center and who tried to connect them into society. So I thought it was a nice, good practice that we visited. And when we spoke in advance of the workshop, just thought it might be something that would be nice to shine a light on, and happy to circulate their slides, and the link to the center afterwards are in the chat as well.
What I especially like about the slide you currently have here is this, that having trouble to understand where their emotions are coming from. And I think this also maybe goes a bit back to what Adnan was also saying. Sometimes it's easier maybe to draw things, right, than to express in a focus group setting.
Yeah.
And it brings this important, I think, dimension to the entire discussion on social integration that we have here today, that there is often trauma or something traumatic involved in the migration process, or the reason why they had to migrate to begin with, that maybe is sometimes overlooked when we only focus on the labor market and economic KPIs. New hands in the labor force, new taxpayers. I think this is the second side that is very crucial to have healthy.
And funnily that you mentioned the art therapy and drawing things, because when we were there as a group with the project, they asked us to draw what we thought was the perfect society. So. We split up into 2 or 3 different teams, but everyone drew hospitals and drew different things like that, and they were explaining to us afterwards, we don't need to think about those, this is the perfect society. We shouldn't be building hospitals and putting them at the center of our pictures and whatnot. And these particular challenges that we have, we should focus on fun and learning and connections and people and community, So it's a nice way to get good points across and to understand the different perspectives that people have as well.
And John, I know that you need to shortly leave us, but just to share from my side, you mentioned about the sports and sports as an integration, a tool for integration as well. Then I'll put to the chat for everybody as well. In my home country in Estonia, some initiative that's been around now for 7 years or more has been using football as a way to give young kids social skills and other life skills, and in some parts of the country, it's also an integrational tool between children coming from different families with different language backgrounds, basically. And considering it has been sort of kept ongoing for several years, I think it can be a nice example to explore further on what is their methodology using sports. But then, John, thank you so much for your presentation. I would then, last but not least, invite Tomasz, again from Szczecin, to tell us about this Together We Can Do More program.
Yes, of course, and our cooperating NGOs had a similar project what you, John, showed us, and you will see it at the moment. Okay, if you.
Yeah, we see it. I mean, I see the first slide.
Okay, no, okay. I will start. Okay. I introduced myself. My name is Tomasz Dudziński, and I represent the Voivodeship Labor Office in Szczecin. Voivodeship is a regional labor office in Szczecin, particularly the Career Information and Planning Center. Today, I'd like to briefly present the project Together We Can Do More. To help you understand the context of our work, have a look at the map. Although Kiev is closer to Warsaw, around 850 kilometers, many people fleeing Ukraine choose to come to Szczecin, even though it is much farther, about 1,500 kilometers away from Kiev. Szczecin is also located just 150 kilometers from Berlin, close to German border. The main objective of the project was to support the fastest and most effective adaptation of foreigners in a crisis situation to help them adjust to the realities of living in Poland. This was achieved by combining activities related to professional activation, social integration, and community engagement. The target group included foreigners legally residing in Poland, with a special focus on those who arrived from countries affected by the crisis, especially Ukraine. We supported both children and young people from August 2022 to December 2023, with a total budget of about 1.25 million zloty. The project was carried out in cooperation with several key organizations. We, as a work office, work with only with people 18 plus, but we collaborated with NGOs, Migracja Association in Szczecin, Polites Association in Szczecin, and Association of Ukrainians in Poland, Szczecin branch, all as implementer. As the project leader, the Voivodeship Labor Office in Szczecin focused on career guidance and vocational activation. We developed over 240 individual action plans, supported the writing of CVs, and provided Polish language courses. There were group workshops on job searching, interview skills, and workplace culture. We held information sessions and webinars on starting a business. One session focused on working conditions in Poland. One of the great values of this project was the involvement of students from the University of Szczecin. They started out as volunteers, helping with translation and communication tasks, and later officially joined the project as collaborators. 3 of them are Ukrainian students who came to Poland before the war. Today they speak Polish so fluently that in conversation it's hard to tell they are not native speakers. On the right you can see examples of our didactics and informational materials that were created in our job center. You can also see a set of custom development cards created by our team. These cards have now been translated into English and during the project also into Ukrainian. On the left side, you can see one of the groups that participated in Polish language classes at the University of Szczecin. The atmosphere during the classes was very positive. One of the students brought a homemade cake to share with the group. You can see it in the middle of photo with Polski written in chocolate. On the right side of the slide, you can see our vocational counseling workshops. The topic was about the labor market in Poland. The Polites Association was responsible for a wide range of integration and social activities. They organized cultural and educational workshops, development activities for children and youth, and provided material support for families in need. They also hosted integration events, giving newcomers a chance to build connections and feel part of the local community. Polites also ran a variety of creative and practical workshops. These included painting, photography class, theater, regional culture, and culinary activities. Children and teenagers took part in judo, crafts, macrame, pottery, first aid, and fun group challenges. As you can see, the variety was huge, and there was many more activities not listed here. The Association of Ukrainians focused on integration and mentoring support. One of their key initiatives was the Open Doors program, group session combining workshops and study visits to public institutions. They also organized psychological workshops and intercultural meetings, helping participants better understand Polish systems and feel more confident in daily life. Here we can see a few moments from the integration and educational visits organized by the Association of Ukrainians in Poland. Participants had the chance to visit key institutions, including government offices, local organizations, and cultural spaces, such as museums and community centers. Migracja is a local NGO founded by a Ukrainian woman who has been supporting the community in Szczecin for many, many years. In the project, the association provided psychological support, group mentoring, and intercultural workshops. They also implemented the Mentor Family program, helping participants adapt to daily life in Poland. For children and youth, Migracja ran art and cult workshops focused on topics like marketing, cybersecurity, graphic design, and public art. These photos show the warm community-based atmosphere of the integration meetings organized by Migracja Association. And here are the key insights we are gathered from the project. A partnership between a public institution and NGOs built on dialogue, flexibility, and shared goal. It wasn't just about fulfilling formal obligation. A safe and welcoming space built trust and confidence, professional activation combined with emotional support, locally developed tools and materials, and finally, we learned that integration is a process. It takes time, human connection, and consistency for a real and lasting change to happen. Thanks for your attention. If you have any question or would like to connect, feel free to reach out to us. All the contact details are on the slides.
Yeah, thank you, Tomasz. And yeah, you can keep the slide maybe, or we'll anyways. Everybody will get the slides afterwards as well, because we had already somebody in the chat wanting to contact you, Tomasz. So it's very nice that you are welcome to that idea. Once again, people in the audience are very welcome to ask clarifying questions. It was very nice, I think, the presentation from your side, that really an example of how the public sector does and can collaborate with the nonprofit sector, because we were talking that already earlier today, and now it was a very concrete example.
It's so interesting. It's, if I have to add something, that people who's working with us in the project, they contact us all the time. We see how they change the job, how they come to their goal, and they developed here, and most of them stay in Szczecin, and they are happy, and they contact with us like other people. We contact with many people from different nationalities, and among them are Ukrainians.
That's really nice to hear that the barriers was broken, or there is no this anymore. I have one clarifying question, and I think this is about the work your office was doing. You mentioned on one of your slides this individual action plans. So what is an individual action plan?
Well, it's hard to tell in a few words. That's some kind of interview where we gathered information about their needs, and if we know that, we can better help them with their goal.
And was this only an interview about, let's say, skills and employment, or was it also a bit broader that you could then direct them to the social programs provided by the nonprofits?
Skills, employment, and their education, for example, sometimes some health problem, which maybe can stop them on the one career, and we must think about something else.
Then, but maybe my last question, and then I give word to Erik as well. Was it easy to collaborate with the non-governmental sector in this project for you as a public authority?
Yes. We collaborate with them frequently, and we know each other, we meet each other, and it was pleasure for us to can collaborate with them.
So the trust was already there a bit earlier, as Adnan was saying, having a trust. Erik, I don't know if you have a question from your side or we have something from the audience, then please.
Well, both actually. We just had a question from the audience. I'll look at that first. From Galina, asking if it would be possible to share the didactic material and standards for providing the services for targeted groups. Is it possible to share this didactic material, Tomasz?
I think yes. I think I thought you Mart can upload it on the site, yes,
Sure, yeah.
or send them. It's not a problem.
Thank you. But then Erik, you had a question as well.
No, I'm also interested to listen to you, and I'm also now reflecting on all the things we heard in Kristiansand. You heard about the peer review. One interesting finding there was about the therapeutic or the help of entrepreneurship in actually feeling that you start belonging somewhere by doing small-scale entrepreneurship. Often if you have high qualifications, even if you make all the efforts that John mentioned, it takes time to get recognition, to have the language skill that allows you to fully use your competences. In the meantime, many migrants can feel like in a void. You're doing cleaning jobs or very low qualified jobs and feel, what am I doing here? And in that case, what they said in Norway was, well, what peers told us in Norway is that the small scale entrepreneurship helps actually with feeling belonging and getting into things just by giving you another perspective on what you do and your daily life. Is that something you've experienced too, that entrepreneurship can play multiple roles in this integration process?
Oh, sorry, you have.
I'm sorry.
I am not perfect in English, and sometimes it's too fast for me. And if you can repeat it slow.
I will just try to be. I was just. My question was about the different roles of entrepreneurship, not just as building companies, but just constructing each migrant and their self-perception and their sense of doing something meaningful, even when they cannot use all of their competences for their qualifications.
We had some programs in Poland when they joined, and they developed their skills in the targets what they need. It's hard to tell in few words. It's a complicated process sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Adnan, you want to contribute? I see the hand has been raised.
Yes, I think I can contribute something from the SALAM project, actually, an exchange between the region Västra Götaland in Sweden here and other partners in the project on entrepreneurship and the role of entrepreneurship in integration. And this is actually something that we follow for quite, I think, before the Corona time and during Corona, and after that until now, still running. And right now, Mart municipality actually applying with the migrant-led organization and other entrepreneurial organization on projects to support migrant women to focus like migrants, but with a special focus on migrant women to what they say have some kind of entrepreneurial opportunities. And in there, actually, I would say, like we had because I followed that project, I was in the steering committee of that project for some time, and I've seen migrants with, for example, they have been lawyers, or those who are like over 50 or 60 and they have been doctors, and for them to adjust their certificate, it will take 4 or 5 years, of their life, and they are already, it's really hard process. For lawyers, they have to do it all again, it's not easy for them because to do that. So a lot of them, as you said, yes, being an entrepreneur brings some kind of confidence, what they say, also not only confidence, but also self self-trust, and a lot of them actually, a lot of them expressed how much important for them in their integration process, a feeling of that I can contribute, that all the knowledge I'm carrying, I did not born the day I arrived here, and even with the package that I carry with me, that it didn't go away, I can use it in my entrepreneurial ideas. And I remember because the project was led by the region, Västra and migrant-led organization who form a bridge directly to the migrants. And the need came directly actually from the migrants of having this entrepreneurial. And I could support what you said actually, Erik, that really it played a big role in I know some of them until now still running businesses, very satisfied, feeling part, feeling belonging, and I think it helped their integration along the way.
That's very interesting to hear, Adnan. You mentioned also migrant-led organizations in this process, that migrants organize themselves to convey the needs. What are the bottlenecks to become an entrepreneur? Is it understanding the taxation system, the company creation system, all of these things that are needed also to become an entrepreneur? Who makes that possible? And there are also, I think, good practices to be shared on how you may encourage the emergence of migrant-led organizations or migrant organizations with active participation of migrants. In some cases, also saying this was sometimes not focusing all the time on language learning, but at sometimes also having short courses also in the native language of the migrant, because language is not everything, and you can get faster into the system by just understanding a few things. Okay. So I think that's quite interesting. I can't. Yep.
Yeah,
Mart,
I think there are no more in the audience, and so in the last, let's say, 5 minutes, yeah, we can have one more question or some sort of discussion. I'm still wondering, and this maybe goes back to what I was mentioning in the beginning. I gave my interpretation of the role of a city government or a local municipality, but I'm wondering from your side, Tomasz and Adnan, you a bit represent different sectors, right? And so I'm curious to hear how Tomasz, you see the role of the Szczecin local government in supporting integration processes, and then Adnan, you as a maybe outsider, what are your expectations towards the local authority in order that we would have a good social integration process? So whichever one wants to say, yeah, Tomasz, you can maybe say it first.
In our experience, local governments can play a crucial role on integration. They don't always have to lead the projects directly, but they can create conditions for trust and cooperation between different actors, public sectors, NGOs, schools, and citizens. In our project, the Regional Labor Office worked closely with local NGOs and the University of Szczecin. This partnership allowed us to respond quickly, adapt tools, and share resources.
And yes. Adnan, from your side, I mean, you work closely with Mart, but still, what is the how you see it?
I mean, the expectation, I think, from an NGO perspective, and quite frankly, from a refugee perspective, as myself, I expect from the authorities in any municipalities where I live right now, I expect them really to be able to design and a context, specific services, conveying a sector partnership. That means I want to see more collaboration with NGOs. I want them to be able to empower migrants and refugees to raise their voice, because it's very important. I think it's worth mentioning here that it's not easy that you go and please tell me what you need, what is your needs. For a lot of migrants, me included, first we came to different countries. We were not used to speak out our mind. We were not allowed in most of the countries that we come from. Actually, there is a lack of need of knowing our rights and what is the limits. So we need some kind of support from the municipalities on the rights of speech, that you are allowed to speak. You invite us to consultative consultations, and to consuls, and it's very important to provide tools for the migrants to be able to speak out, to be able to participate, and to be able to share their practices. I think this is kind of, sometimes if we don't do that, this is structural discrimination, because you suppose that this group of people know their rights and know how to speak out, or know that they can or they are allowed to speak out in these manners. We have been in a lot of places where refugees simply, they don't realize, they don't know that they can speak out. So what I want from the municipality, for sure, to provide structures that allow participation, allow migrants to speak out, and to share their experiences, living experiences and opinions and ideas and solutions as well. But also I want from the municipality to allocate budget, to do that. Allocate budget for the integration, for NGOs to do that, and also to support, allocate budget for migrant-led organizations. And this is very important because there may be trust in Save the Children or Red Cross, but do municipality trust and provide the funds and budget for migrant-led organization, refugee-led organizations? This is, I think, an important issue to focus on.
And probably a big issue to tackle in some future activity of Interreg Europe or other contexts. But it was a very, very nice insight, Adnan. Thank you for sharing that with us. We are now in the closing stages of the webinar. I hope for the audience that there is something insightful to take away from all what the speakers were sharing with us. So, I mean, Tomasz had a really nice example of how the Regional Labour Office collaborated with 3 nonprofits and how they together sort of provided a holistic set of different services and, well, non-services, or as we were also talking, to this community of people coming to the region. Then John presented these 2 cases of working with family reintegration and with children, and also with this trauma aspect. And there were some really nice examples of how these methodologies are there, and what you could also look more deeper into. And then, of course, Adnan, I think we're all waiting to see the guidelines you are developing, and how, when this the progress will be going in Mart municipality in the coming months and years. So thank you so much, Adnan. Thank you, Tomasz. Also, thank you to John, who unfortunately had to leave a bit earlier. And thank you for the active audience members. And until we again meet again and to discuss these topics further. So thank you all, and have a nice afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.